Hey there, it's Kylie Menz here, and welcome to mylifestyleshow.tv. It's awesome to have you here. Today, I just want to remind you that this show is all about providing you with vision and motivation and inspiration to make a change and fast track your success to creating a true lifestyle business full of passion, doing what you love, and obviously with lots of time and financial freedom. But today we're taking a slightly different angle, which I'm so excited about, because I have a very unusual speaker on today, because she's not only a vocalist, she's an inspiring songwriter, she's a vocal coach, but also she's just launched her first album. I think it's her first solo album, I should check that, called the Love Energy album. Now, I'm not saying she's not new, because she's been around for a long time, but she's a new person. I love it, because I have Elyse Rogers on, and I think it's Elyse G.Rogers. I'm going to stick with that. And the thing I love about Elyse is the transformation in Elyse, because I didn't know much about Elyse when I got chatting with her, and obviously I've done some research and she shared a few things with me, and the transformation that Elyse has gone through over her life and her music is amazing, because some of you may know she was originally in a German dance group and called Max, M-A-X-X, back in 94, 95, on the top of the pops, in the charts, #1 in the UK, and I was listening to some of the UK hits, because obviously I didn't get them in Australia, so I went back and listened to a lot of her music, and it's just phenomenal how she changed her vision and her passion around music with this new album. So I'm really excited to have Elyse here. So welcome, Elyse. It's great to have you here.
Hi. Hiya, Kylie.
Hi. And obviously we're going to share, now Lisa's going to share a little bit about her story and kind of how she got to where she is today. And then we're going to talk about the importance of music and the fact that, her passion and I guess her mission really is to change the frequency of the planet, which I love, through positive music. And it's the first time I've heard for so long lots of positive lyrics in songs. We hear all this music, especially with the younger generation now. It's quite dark, it's quite depressing, sometimes it's quite sad even. And to find someone that's actually changing the way music is used in our lives for the better is just, it's very, very inspiring. So today we're going to talk about how she kind of got through to this type of music and the history of the 9 frequencies of the tones of music, and I'm not going to pronounce the name of it. How to balance your chakras in less than an hour. So we're looking at that as well, and how to raise your vibe to, I love this, a euphoric state. And who wouldn't want to live like that, really, without any drugs? Great stuff. So Elyse, thank you for being here. So if you want to share a bit about your background, that would be awesome first, just so people know where you're coming from. And I know you haven't been well, so thank you so much for taking the time to come on here live.
Yeah. Hi, Kylie. Thank you so much today for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been awesome meeting you just recently that we've met, and for doing this today for me, I'm really grateful. Thank you. What can I say? It's been such a journey. I feel quite emotional with that introduction, because it just shows to me how far I've come and the transformation. And you're so right, that is the kind of key word for me, is transformational. Because it's been a massive journey, as I'm sure most people's lives are. We all have our story, but mine has been quite interesting in the fact that I had this real passion for singing. It was very natural for me to sing. I've got a really good ear for music, so this was picked up at school. That my music teacher was, he recognised that I had this good ear for music, and what that meant was that I could kind of tune in. I could, if you give me a note on a key, I kind of know what that is. So, that's quite a gift to have, really. And I recognised that at the age of 14. And it's been a massive journey with the Max in the 1994. That didn't just come overnight. As a teenager, as an 18-year-old as well, while my friends were clubbing, I was out gigging. So there was a real commitment, and that gigging was Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. As an 18-year-old, you think I'd be out clubbing it. I wasn't. I was singing in the smoky social clubs, conservative clubs, what we had here in England back 20 years ago.
I was going to say, you would have been a lot of the working men's clubs, wouldn't it? That sort of thing.
That's what it was called, yeah. And we don't really have a lot of those anymore. But I'd done my training, and then I married at quite a young age to my previous husband, and we moved to Germany, where I auditioned for the German band. And that was it. It was just a complete fly-in off the, around Europe. I even went to America and did a tour of Canada, really fast paced. So it seems like the music industry to me is very slow to begin with. And then all of a sudden it's like whoosh. So there's all this preparation that you have to do, not only on yourself, but on the actual product. I am finding that different now. So it's been a massive journey for me. And now after a 10-year break of singing, which is very interesting because I found that I couldn't sing, because the music industry to me, you hear it's very cutthroat and it's not a great business. And it's a great business if you've got the right team around you and you've got a great management system who, empower you, and they are kind of on a team. But in the 90s, it was very much kind of, if I remember, kind of what do you call those bands where, one hit wonders, manufactured bands. So they'd make the products behind the scenes, and then they'd bring the kind of people to front it. Now, the difference with me was I believe and still believe in live music. So I sing live, which is really unusual in the dance scene. So something that's called BPM, beats per minute, the max songs were like 140 beats a minute, and that's fast. So if you're singing a dance track to 140 beats a minute, then you have to keep up with that. So there's a lot of that, and I've learned a hell of a lot. Aside from all that, 10 years of not singing, and finally waking up to the fact that it is who I am, it's part of me. I couldn't deny it anymore. I was so miserable inside, and it's my husband now who's been a great support. And he would cleverly say to me, it took him 4 years to get me to sing again. We've been married.
I was going to say, what was the turning point then?
There's been a number of factors, but one in particular, he would say to me, whisper in my ear, do you know, if I had a voice like that, I'd be singing. And I'd go, really? And it sounds quite incredulous now because of where I am now. But back then, when you deny who you are, and you can't see a way out of it, it's the most painful thing, because you want to do it, but you've got a number of reasons why you're not doing it. So it's like, it could be confidence, or it could be a belief system, it could be your environment. And for me, I think what it was personally, it was a strong belief of not believing in myself anymore, that I wasn't good enough, that I couldn't sing. There was there's millions of great singers out there. What makes me different? And I've really worked on that. And a number of things I did. I got into NLP, EFT. I got into the energy work, and I became practitioners in the holistic world so that I could work on myself and find out what was making me do this and not sing again.
Because that's really powerful, right? And I see that a lot in women entrepreneurs all the time. And I come from a corporate background. It's taken me a long time to find what I love doing as well, and it is really interesting. We were in a room, and I think you were there the other week at the One Woman conference, and they were talking about what's the biggest thing that holds you back, either starting a business or doing what you really love doing. And it was belief. It's 100% belief in yourself. And it sounds like you've had an awesome, and I think this is really important to pull out, because, if any women entrepreneurs out there are struggling, it's pull that support mechanism, build your team around you, because with that little echo in your ear going, oh, if I had that, I'd be doing it, it chips away, doesn't it? And eventually you go, okay, I've got to do this. It's like, so having that must have been all.
Yeah, I think it's a case of kind of fake it till you make it, because it's having people believe in you when you don't really believe in yourself, and it's gathering enough of the positive evidence to prove that you are good enough. And I mean, I'll tell you a story about this. I went to Nepal in 2000, and it was 2 years ago, so 2013, and I did voluntary work. So I was a vocal coach at the time. So it was easy for me to vocal coach people and tell them how wonderful they were, and inside my mind was going, you're not quite good enough. And so I went to Nepal with my husband. He taught English and I taught music in a school in the Kathmandu Valley. And I remember the family we lived with, there was 9 people in a house, very small house with one shower, which was outdoors, and it was a bucket of water. And so it was really getting back down to basics. It felt like I was stripping myself of any ego, of any judgments of me. So I kind of was shaking it and shifting who I was. And the family had 3 children. And they put on a show for us this particular evening, and they did some beautiful dancing and singing and drumming, and I was in floods of tears going, oh my God, this is just so beautiful. And the host of the family, he turned around to me and my husband and he said, okay, it's your turn. So my husband, he looks at me and he says, oh, she's the singer of the family. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'd written these 3 songs which were on my album. I wrote Just Be Yourself, Blessed with Love, and The Love Energy. And as an experiment, really, when I got back into my singing and writing again. And so I sang these songs, and the feedback I got from the host, he said in his broken English and the translation through the children, because they spoke really good English, he said, you know what, I did not understand a word she said, but her tone and her intention is so beautiful. And I didn't know this, but the next day in school, I go into school to teach. I'm teaching early years, so I'm teaching the babies of the group, and we're doing, nursery rhymes and stuff like that. And the whole of the Kathmandu Valley had heard me. It had gone through the whole of this valley, as far as I know, because it was just, that's how it works, And the children the next day in school were going, Miss, was that you singing in the valley last night? And I was like, yeah, it was.
Oh my God! So the vibration had gone through the actual gully itself.
Yeah. So the next
that
day, I decided then I was going to come home and do an album from that moment. I mean, there was a number of things that led up to that, but that was kind of the catalyst for that. And I just thought, you know what? I need to do this. I want to do this, and I can't hold it off for another second because it's killing me. So just took that leap of faith, came home, booked the studio. I think it took me another year to go into the studio because the guy was like, well, what genre style? And I'm going, I don't know, pop, dance. I'm going, I don't know. So it's been quite a journey. But yeah, I've got some fabulous people around me. And I think that's really important. If there's a message for anyone, if you're thinking about and you're not quite sure what it is you want to do, but you may know, then, just kind of get yourself around a really select group of people. And they don't necessarily have to know one another. That's the key. It's just tapping into kind of people who are really special at what they do. And they embrace you and they empower you. And you just love being in their energy.
I think that's really important, isn't it? It's I know when I get around my networking group and my women group that I have working with, it's every time if I'm feeling even slightly low about my business or what I'm doing or the journey that I'm on, it's like they'll always uplift me every time. They just remind you why you're doing it, remind you that you are good at what you're doing. It is like you said, it's that, because we're easily sitting in our own heads going, no, I can't do this, I'm not good enough. And when someone else is sitting there saying, but you do it all the time, that's what you're really good at, that's what we love. It's like
it's just an old program, isn't it? A program that we run in our minds. In fact, I was listening to some of my lyrics in not only my album, because I'm working with 4 music producers in Europe at the moment, 2 Germans, a French guy and a Dutch guy. And the kind of stuff that I'm writing, if you were to listen to all of the tracks, there's a lot about freeing the mind and kind of opening the heart. And I've got this thing about kind of the mind and letting go of it. And it's like, I'm really trying my best to let it go. And I mean, what can you do? We've come here, to this wonderful planet of duality, I guess. And how do you, that is the question, that mind program, how do you kind of, I think it is acceptance, isn't it? And embracing that dark side of us and saying, you know, I can be like that sometimes. I can complain sometimes, you know. So I'm really trying to, this love energy concept is to get into this energy of love, because I know it exists and I just want more of it. So if I can put it in music and it reach people, if I reach one person and it brightens their day, then I've done my job.
You're nearly a me in tears, and it's beautiful. It's so, but it is so true. And it's just, you know, I've been working on this massively with myself. It's really interesting. And it's really funny how people with your type of energy and kind of more that spiritual side and the kind of the heart side keep coming into my life at the moment.
Lovely.
Because, you know, I got stuck into that corporate world, and, you know, I know we talk about it at the One Woman Conference, so the male energy for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, I was very and very focused, and it's like for the first time I'm actually been going, well, what do I want? You know, what's actually telling me, what should I be doing? And it's like, and it's switching off the mind. It is, like you said, sometimes just getting out of your head. And, you know, and the only way to do that is, like you said, is to get a support mechanism around you, but also, like you said, tap into your own body. And I think, like you said, when you do the self inner work, it starts to come out and resonate out from there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing, I'll be really honest, what's happening with me at the moment, because I think this is where this kind of cold's come on, although it's been going around, and I'm just shifting it now, is that the more up leveling I do in my business, the kind of self-worth issues are coming up, and I'm going, am I really doing this right now? You know, because I mean, this album is just, I'm so proud of this album. I can't tell you, it's been 2 years in the making. I've sold about 400 and I don't know if it's 450, I meant to check today, online digital sales, which is absolutely amazing. And I'm doing this all on my own with the support of these beautiful people around me. And I'm just doing my best. And you know what? I feel very blessed and grateful to do my passion. And I think that if you can tap into that, whatever your passion is, then life's, it's better, isn't it? You know,
it just flows so much better, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah.
And the album is amazing. I've obviously been popping away to it all morning. And, you know, like I said, the thing I love is about connecting, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later, is connecting music with everyday life, and like how can you use it on a daily basis to kind of help grow your business or help you grow yourself internally. And we were talking, I'm working with a coach at the moment to create my own online programs. And she's always about just be yourself and people will show up around you.
Yeah.
You know, it's simple as that. And I have to read this because your lyrics in your song called Just Be Yourself, which is really funny, is just be yourself inside. You know you want to. Just shout it high out loud. You know you got to. So take control with and shape the world out. Just trust inside yourself and you will stand proud. And that is just so inspiring, and that's going to be my quote for the week. It's like, because that is what we're talking about, and it doesn't matter whether it's just in your life in general or in your business as well. Like I do a lot of women coaching. It is be yourself.
Yeah.
You know, because once you get back to your authentic self and your passion, your whole life just goes into flow. And you know, you getting back in, you can see it. I mean, you're shining like on stage and things like that. It's just amazing.
Bless you.
And you will grow. Yeah.
Thank you. I think initially the lyrics that I write are for me. Initially, they're for me with the intention to spread them. You know, because as you said before, Kylie, my mission. And it's finding that big why, isn't it? Your big why. And when I really thought about it, and I thought, you know, what is it I'm meant to be doing? Okay, yeah, I know that singer-songwriting. What would that look like? It's using all those NLP kind of statements. Yeah, and I think it's for me initially, these lyrics were to empower me, to keep me kind of focused and on it and believing in myself. So I thought, well, if it can work for me, then I want to raise this planetary vibration to love through positive music, because I don't think we've got enough of this positive music. And if we can use affirmations and mantras in our music, and just think how subliminal that would be for each person, because every time we switch on the radio or the television, we're bombarded with kind of messages that we're not even sure of, are we? You know, they go in, you know, whether it's kind of, you know, you think, why am I hungry for, I don't know, a crumpet or something? And it's like, because it's been on the television. And
that's why they do it, exactly.
Yeah, they know, whoever they are.
And I agree. I mean, I don't watch the news. I can't watch the news. I skim it sometimes, but I cannot watch the news and things like that, because it's just all doom and gloom continually. And you're like, I'd love someone to bring out a TV show, like an actual proper radio station or a TV station that's just about what's positive in the world.
Yeah.
Because it would just be amazing. But we thrive on doom and gloom. It's awful. It's just like, as humans, it's like, come on, guys.
I know.
Let's thrive on excitement.
It's going to be a real shift, isn't it, in consciousness for everybody, and even us, to wake up to the fact, for the good story. If you ever read a magazine called The Good News?
No, I haven't. Not a magazine.
Well,
no.
It's only about 4 pages long. If I ever get to buy it, I know where to buy it from. It's only 50p. I'll get you a copy. But what's really interesting about this newspaper is it's 4 pages long, which isn't very long. But when you get to the end of it, you're kind of looking for the bad news, because you're just not used to that. You know, and it's things like that. And I think it's just going to take a little bit more time. But people are waking up, I think, to this new energy on the planet, this lightness, and that the dark is being shown. You know, I mean, the banking system, I don't even want to go there with you, but, you know, kind of that crazy stuff that's going on. I know that's another day, isn't it?
Yeah.
You
it's
know,
a male ego. They know that. They say, I used to work with a lot of bankers.
Did you?
Say, with ego, that's what men do. And that's what it's quite often is like, a lot of the crashes, because I used to work on a trading floor in one of the banks, and it was just like listening to them, and that's what it was. It was just like, can I compete with you today? Who can make the most? It was just all ego oriented. Yeah. And that's what one of the biggest crashes, like, a lot of my friends are traders, and I'll tell you that's what did it. Yeah.
So really that's a massive shift, because predominantly we are conditioned to be that way. The competition, comparison, you know, and what I'm recognizing is that when I do comparison with myself and another vocalist or whoever, then I don't want to be in comparison anymore. I want to be in cooperation. And this is a great thing about the One of Many group with Joanna Martin and Susie Heath and Annie Stoker. They've been so supportive. What an awesome team of women they are, because they recognise that as women, you know, we want to be in our soft power, in our soft feminine energy, so that we flow with ease, so that there's not this competition all the time, because being in the masculine energy can burn us out. You know, and I have been working really hard, and sometimes I get a bit obsessed with the computer and I need to break away. So this kind of where this kind of colds come on. So for the last few days, I had a massage yesterday, and I've just been really looking after myself a lot better, and with candles and oils and those kind of girly nice things, that I'm treating myself better. Yeah,
because it's good, because you've got to get that energy back, and that's how, what women don't do a lot is replenish that energy.
That's right.
And like you said, the movement, and I'm seeing it a lot more. It's like you said, it's, you know, I mean, obviously Joe's got an amazing movement happening here and starting to go global. You know, I've interviewed some really empowering women entrepreneurs over the last few weeks who are doing the same thing in different countries, and it's like, it's phenomenal, the movement of women entrepreneurs at the moment, pulling together, the power of what we can do when we're in our energy. And that's, you know, you know how you said about digging deeper to find your why. You know, I like showing people how to create lifestyle businesses, because, and I used to just say, because it gives them more time freedom, and it's like, and I got pushed, and it was like, why? But why? What's the underlying why behind it? And the underlying why is simple. As women entrepreneurs, if we earn more and have more time on our hands, we do better things with it. You know, we get involved with the community, we get involved back with the family, we do charity, we get, you know, and that was actually what my why was. It was like, actually, it's because we start to change our environment around us. So if more women are freed up back like they used to be, to actually look after their family, live life, enjoy it, the whole community and society gets better off.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
That into that why. So in relation to kind of your music, and let's kind of steer back to you and your amazing album. So you talk a lot about, obviously, music frequencies. So can you go into a bit of background of kind of what the frequencies are and how it really does affect you?
Okay. Well, just initially to tell you a bit about the history and what I discovered. Have you heard of 5 to 8 hertz frequency, Kylie?
a little bit about it. Yeah, I did some research on it.
Okay.
You are talking to, for just for the example, you're talking to the most tone deaf girl ever. I do not sing even at karaoke because my voice is the flattest ever.
Okay.
So I avoid that type of musical structure.
Okay.
But yeah,
so there's a guy in America called Len Horowitz who's done a lot of research on 5-8, and it's something that I've been kind of researching for the last 3 or 4 years. And initially, I wanted to create an album in 5-8 hertz frequency, but I found that not a lot of people knew what it was. In terms of sound engineers, I went to a few studios and I said, can you help me? I'd like to do an album in 5-8 hertz. And they were like, what are you on about? You know, they just didn't know what I was talking about. So I did some more research and I found out that 5-8 hertz frequency is part of a harmonic range called the solfeggio, or some people may know it as a solfeggio frequency. And these are 9 frequencies. Initially, it started with 6 frequencies, and then it went on to 9. And the history about this is that the Gregorian monks back in the 15th century, when they chanted, they used what's called thirds. So they used this harmonic range of the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, what is known today in our musical term. And they used this range to heal the body's energy system, the chakras. And this has gone as far as shamanic drumming and some shamanic kind of, so it is known in different cultures that this kind of sound, vibration, energy, kind of different vibration can heal the body's energy system. And this was the part that really got me. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna use this. And I found someone to work with me who could tune each of the tracks of my album into these different frequencies. Now, the beautiful thing with these frequencies is, and the special thing is, you don't really hear them, you feel them. So, and that's the kind of thing that I'm working with at the moment. I found it was a real niche area because, like I said before, there's so many beautiful vocalists out there. And if I'm talking about a business and me to be sustainable and to keep within my, for me to keep doing this, then I needed to think about not only is it my voice, which is different, the tone of my voice, my lyrics are positive, but also what would it be like also to have different frequencies within an album. And I guess I have created a real niche product that, you know, could go where I want it to go is global. And this is what I'm learning to share and to create more of this. It's a really interesting concept that I've come across.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating, isn't it? How, and I guess in logic sense, we do that because when we listen to music, our body naturally changes. So in a way, it, you know, when I listen to something bubbly and light, I'm always up and about, my energy goes. And so you do it naturally. But what I love about you is, like you said, you're really tapping into the body's own energy. Yeah. And then the music is then resonating those elements in different areas. So your different tracks have different frequencies to them, don't they? So yeah, like you said, one could be about, you know, we were talking about my throat earlier because I'm like you, lost my voice, and it was like, so I was like, that one's got this one, so I'm going to put that on replay for a while because it obviously taps into that chakra. So because there's 9, isn't there? Is that right?
Yeah. Can I show you this if I bring it forward and you just tell me? Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, so this is what I discovered was what this is called is the Vitruvian Man. And this was on World of Action, I think, many, many years ago. And what I discovered was that these 9 frequencies actually create the balance or wholeness of man or woman in our case. And this is what that symbol represents. And also if we're talking sacred geometry, that balance of the energy and just the symbol. So something that, you know, I keep researching. As I tell people, I'm learning all the time. I actually do workshops on this area, and the workshops are helping people to experience these 9 frequencies on what's called a sine wave. So the sine wave is S-I-N-E. So there isn't any, on this CD, particular CD, there's no vocals on it. It's just the frequency on a sine wave. And it runs through from the bottom of the feet, and it goes through up to the knees, to the root chakra, all the way up to the head chakra. So then it does take an hour, but this is where you get that lift, that euphoric state that I'm talking about. And this is what has then been tuned into the album, into a pop album. So yeah, I tell people and inform them about this information here, because it's just fascinating that I came across all this, you know, that I was privy to this. And another point I wanted to share with you was that, you know, if we are, is it 70 or 75, 80% water, then going back to some of the research that's been done by Len Horowitz, he's taken 2 glasses of water, he's put 2 prongs into the water, one of 5 to 8 hertz frequency, one of a different frequency. The 5 to 8 has been very balanced. There's other frequencies going like that, you know, that affects us. We're unaware of, you know, of what the vibration of even the television, the radio, is happening to us. So it's very important for me that I share this information and get it out there, that people have a choice, that they can listen to what's called the sine waves individually. So for you, Kylie, for your throat area, you'd be listening to 741 hertz frequency, which is communication, and letting that, you know, be expressed. If you want it to work, because I have these separately as well, and sometimes when, you know, I might just put a sine wave on of a different frequency and just, you know, fall asleep to that frequency. So very interesting stuff that I've uncovered.
Really powerful, is it? I mean, I don't even comprehend really. Oh, excuse me. I sneezed before. As you can see, I still keep losing it every now and again. The comprehension of the what's the word? I guess the technical side of our body, which, you know, I think, like you said, as man, we don't even know the depths really of how amazing our bodies are and how in tune they are, and, you know, all this sort of thing, how it affects it. And yeah, I cringe at what we're doing as a society to our bodies, you know, mobile phones and sitting in front of our computers, and, you know, it, like you said, it would be affecting because they're rays, aren't they? It's like wireless rays going through your body all the time. Yeah. So I think the thing with what you're doing, I think the most powerful thing is to make sure you take the time to do it at different times. It's like you said, you may not be able to do it every day, but to give that body that level of relaxation, that level of, like you said, rebalancing, I just think would be so powerful to do on a regular basis.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yay. So that's kind of a bit about the history of the frequencies and kind of how they come about. So I know which one I need now, the 741 apparently, which is quite interesting. So in relation to the, I guess in relation to kind of everyday life, you know, using your music, what impact can it have on you using your music on an everyday life? So if say in business or in, work relationships or whatever, how can you use your music to kind of help in those situations?
Well, if you're taking, you know, going back to what we said before about the subliminal messages that we receive, then what I hope with this music and the positive lyrics, it's very important to me. You know, there's been a couple of times where I've written lyrics or gone to write lyrics for the other music, the music producers that I work with in Europe at the moment. And then how I ever am feeling on that day, you know, because I'm an emotional being, you know, I'm working on myself continuously, is that, you know, some days, you know, I might write kind of sad lyrics. So I have to stop myself. I don't do that so much anymore, but there was a real kind of, you know, I had to really shift consciously into, and I actually said to myself, I don't write those type of lyrics anymore. I write positive lyrics. That's who I am. And I kind of reinstated, because if I was to show you some of my old songwriting material for 20 years ago, I've got big folders of the stuff and on CDs and cassettes, and it's always about rejected love, looking for love, searching for love, kind of outside of me. But because of the journey that I've been on and kind of losing myself and finding myself again and believing in me, that, you know, it's very important for me to write those affirmational kind of mantra lyrics. And I have a couple of idols, really. I have like Dr. Emoto. I know he's just recently passed away, but I like his concept that he took water and the way that he spoke to the water, whether in a negative or a positive way, he then froze the water, which made these snow crystals, and they formed the shape of whatever was being said. And that absolutely blows me away to think there's energy in that, you know.
I was trying to think when you were talking about water before. I saw I think it was in the Natural History Museum in London one day, or it was around that area. They had 2 displays, and it was the snowflakes. And I was trying to think what it was to do with. I was thinking, was it with the Len Horowitz one about the water? But it wasn't. It must have been about him, the snowflakes, and it showed you the difference when you. It was just phenomenal. I'd never seen, you know, obviously it react or change or shift like that.
Yes.
And it really did give you an insight into what your body does. Yeah.
But what I found with this music, if I'm working with these frequencies, I've experimented quite a lot. I've done, last year, for example, I performed at 35 kind of mind, body, spirit events. And the reason I targeted those kind of audiences was because I had a message of positivity. So I felt that rather than go out to the clubs, and well, there's not many anymore, but, you know, get an agent and go clubbing. And because I don't do cover versions anymore, I used to do kind of Kylie Minogue, Lisa Stansfield, The Cause, you know, those kind of cover versions. I mean, this is me. You know, and for me to go to a club and sing the love energy, it had to be right. So I built up this audience in the mind, body, spirit field. So yeah, it's been quite a journey, really. And I found that what happened was I did a couple of experiments, but if you can imagine, I do a place in Manchester, and I won't share the name, it's not really important, but it's got 2 rooms. It's got like a white room where everyone seems to be more attracted to in terms of, you know, the clients. They walk in the door, they go to this white room, and the energy is kind of the way it is. But I'm in the old ballroom. So it's an old Freemason Masonic lodge kind of place. These, you know, these are mind, body, spirits, and they're held in these places, you know, and they're still kind of active a little bit. And this is the old ballroom. It's dark. There's not much light coming in. So I look round, and all these stall holders who've paid their money for the weekend, they're waiting for customers, you know, they have to pay for their stall. And I'm singing, and I say, I'm going to do a little bit of an experiment here. I'm going to play these sine waves, but I'm also going to sing and raise the energy, because if I've got the intention to raise that vibration, then that's half the way. If you've got that intention for that to happen, it's just like setting a goal, isn't it? You know, and I said, just give me an hour, just 1 hour. And these stall holders were like, okay. And I said, I promise, you know, watch this space, because you're going to get busy. And I thought, I'll just try it as an experiment. And I swear, within an hour, you know, I look round, and there's this guy on his stall, and he's got a crowd of like 3 rows of people. And he looks at me, and I look at him, and I just go thumbs up, and he's like, oh my God. And that happens quite a lot, because what we're doing is, you're not hearing them, you're feeling them. So they're shifting vibrationally, they're going through the body right up to the top, and it seems to take an hour. You know, it was quite interesting, because my mum, she's got a cafe bar in Manchester town centre. She's been selling my CD at a shop, bless her, which is wonderful.
Awesome mums.
Yeah, exactly. And my father as well. And she said to me, it's really strange. She said, a few people have said they like track 8 or track 9. And I'm like, really? And I knew why. But for her, a few people had said track 8 and track 9. And I said, do you know why that is? And she said, no. And I said, what it is, by the time you work through the frequencies, you get to track 8 and 9. And that's when you have that upliftment. You have that euphoric state.
You've gone through the time actually listening to it as you go through. So your body's changing as you listen to it.
Yeah.
Wow, isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
and it just shows you what it takes to change the state of your body. So about an hour.
yeah. I'd like to say it was by track 1, but maybe that's on the second lot. But I mean, I've had some fantastic testimonials. I've saved a lot of them in my notes in my computer, because at some point I'm going to share them, and I'm just sharing little snippets. But basically, people are saying, you know, I want another hit. I want that state of euphoric state, and I'm going, okay, which is great for me because it's clearly working. Because I thought it when I was coming home with the demos of the album, by track 8 and 9, I was dancing around the living room downstairs, and I was like, oh my God, it must be because it's my album. And no, they're clearly working. So I like to believe that they're working, and the feedback that I'm getting back, it is working. So I'm really, really happy about that.
Yeah, and it does. I mean, I was sitting here listening to, and it's really interesting. The thing I love about it as well is you can put it on the background. Like I had it on the background pretty well virtually all day yesterday. It was just playing, and I was like replaying it, and I was like, well, it's good because I know subliminally it's like it's working on my frequencies. And I had an awesome day when I was doing it. I was like, everything was working, everything was flowing. You're like, I wonder.
Yeah,
but it is that real thing. And I think, like you said, you really touched on it powerfully there. It is, like you said, it's setting the intention with the feeling behind it. You know, and we talk a lot about that with the law of attraction and attracting money and attracting vibes and everything in your life anyway. And it's like you said, you can't just think it and it's going to happen. It's like you said, you've got to really feel it and really get into it for stuff to shift. And if that's the feedback, I mean, that is just amazing, the feedback. I mean, I watched a room full of women change just listening to two of your, you know, it was crazy. It was just like suddenly everyone was a bit cautious and they were a bit like this. And, you know, before they ended, everyone was dancing and singing. And it was just the shift in the room. You could feel the energy lift in the room.
Yeah.
You know, so seeing you live is just one of the best things that anyone could do, is definitely go and watch you live somewhere.
Thank you. Yeah.
So on that note, do you want to talk a little bit about kind of your, because obviously, you know, I can't stress how different this is, but amazing at the same time. It's like, it is a unique angle. I've never seen anything like it before. You know, if I can encourage or do anything to spread the word of what you're doing, then I certainly will, because, you know, we need more of this in the life. You know, the society is not going in the right direction, and, you know, it is just not. So with the power of what you're doing and what other women entrepreneurs out there are doing, you know, this is about, like you said, collaboration, cooperation, and get the message out there. So talk about where you're up to. I know you're obviously on a collaboration project with another lady. I'm sure you must have live shows coming out. How can people see you and feel what I've been feeling? Okay.
So at the moment we've got the album, which is for sale on my website, which is ElyseMusic.com. And aside from the album, which is wonderful, is I've collaborated with a lady called Sue Williams, who's brought out a wonderful book. The title escapes me because it's quite long, but I can find it if you want me to.
Do you want me to do it?
You got it.
It's believe you can face your fears and confidently claim the life you desire. Very powerful.
Yes. Well, so I met Sue at a Damsels event. Do you know Damsels?
Yes, I do. I'm a networking group.
Oh, okay. Did you go to Ignite in October last year?
I didn't, unfortunately, no, but I do know them.
Well, I actually sat next to Sue on the Sunday, and one of the exercises we had to do, were asked to do, was imagine that you've got a really kind of awesome life, and that, you know, you big it up, you know, really big it up. So me and Sue turned to one another and we did this exercise, and I was like, she said to me, you know, she went first and she said, I'm an author and I've written this great book and it's gone #1 and and Amazon. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. So of course, when it came to my turn, I was like, I've got #1 in America. And it was just to kind of make believe. And it was a really great exercise. At the end of the day, what happened was she turned around and she's like, will you write a song for my book? Excuse me. And that's how that came about. So I then wrote a song called I Believe, and we've now linked that to Sue's book as a gift. So Sue Williams is doing a launch quite soon, which you'll be able to find on my website. And I've written this song that goes in links to the book, which is very exciting. It's great to work with other people and collaborate.
It's an awesome concept of linking the power of words with the power of music, because again, you know, more and more people are it's going to sink in more as well, because we obviously learn visually, we learn by listening, we learn by reading. So anything that does that, and I was reading the words of that because it's track 7 is not on your album, and it is beautiful. I believe that is the one. Absolutely lovely, really lovely words. I can imagine the book is just phenomenal as well. So, and you're singing at a book launch, is that right, on the 2nd of July?
Yeah, the 2nd of July in Coventry. It's where Sue is based, and she's doing a great book launch there. And I will be singing, I believe it's a complete new track. Actually, it's not on my album, this song.
Oh, so it's a different I Believe in. Oh,
yeah.
Okay, I'm going to be quiet now then.
It's okay. The song's called I Believe, and it's about how I believe in me, but I also believe in you. And it's a really slow number. And if we're talking about frequencies still, just a quick one, if I can, about frequencies, the general, what's called concert pitch, so the music that you hear today, whether it be Beyonce or Coldplay, is in a frequency, what's called 440 hertz vibration. So this is another angle that I'm working on. I've had I Believe, the actual single for the book, for Sue's book, tuned into 432, which is... you know, I've been researching this quite a lot. There's a guy called Brian T. Collins who was based in Manchester. He's just gone back to Canada because that's where he's originally from. And he's got a lot of evidence to prove that 432 is the kind of pitch we should be in. So it's an experiment, really, because I went to see Brian because I was like, you know what, I've done an album in this solfeggio and you're telling me 432 is the way. So this is something else that I'm learning. So yeah, I'm experimenting all the time, and I tell this to people that it's an experiment. You know, I'm seeing if it works. If you feel any shift, then that's a good thing, isn't it? That if it changes anybody's state into a state of joy, love, harmony, then it's got to be a good thing, hasn't it, really?
Totally. You can't, I mean, changing how people feel and on the day-to-day basis just by listening to your album is just, how much more powerful can you get, you know? We change state by listening to rubbish, so it's about time we start listening to stuff that changes us in a positive way than a negative way.
Yeah.
Very, very
I guess it's a bit like a pop meditation.
But it's interesting though, isn't it? Because, you know, a lot of people don't necessarily listen to meditation because they think, oh, it's a bit woo-woo, it's a bit whatever. And I think that combining the two is one of the most powerful things you can do, because, you know, people will listen to music all the time. So, you know, and I think that that's a nice thing as well, is you are bringing in, combining those elements.
Do you know, I'll tell you a quick story how that came around. In about 2010, I think it was, I was working as a vocal coach for one of the councils here over in Manchester. And I was working half a day a week as a vocal coach. I had 5 jobs, by the way. As a vocal coach, I would move around. I was actually teaching early years, which is the babies. I was teaching sign language as well in song. So I like to, and in fact, that's something else I'd like to incorporate into my music later on, into live shows, but that's something else. So I was working with these I guess mental health, I don't know if that's the right word to use nowadays, but these were people who were on the sick, or you know, mentally they just couldn't cope. So they had this half a day once a week where they would come along, they'd sing songs for an hour, and then we'd creatively draw and write poems. Or it was a fabulous experience. And what happened was, I noticed quite clearly that when we would sing songs as a group, depending on the type of songs, would really affect them. So when we sang positive lyrics in a song, then I noticed there was a real shift of the energy of the group. There'd be a lot more smiles, a lot more laughing and joking. And then I came home one particular day and I asked the question, what would it be like to write positive lyrics in a song? And that's how it kind of came about initially. And I found it really important. I thought not enough people do it. You know, they talk about or sing about, you know, how they want to get that girl back, or they want that guy to fall in love with them. You know, it's not about that, is it? It's about working on ourselves, because this is where all these belief issues come from, because we're totally giving of ourselves all the time, you know, and drawing it back in and to saying, okay, what is it I'm feeling right now? Because we've lost touch with that, haven't we? You know, how do we actually feel in that moment? I got asked that today on a group call with Annie Stoker, one of many, and I was like, feel? I was like, what? You know, I'm still working on it. You know, I'm too busy thinking all the time. So if I can, through my music, create that flow of energy where for that moment you're in a different vibration and you're feeling that self-love, then, oh my God, you know, you can't buy that for me. That would be my dream.
This is amazing and so passionate. You can just feel you are so in the right space. And I know there's going to be big things happening. So, because I know you've signed your second record deal as well, haven't you?
I have.
And you're releasing a single as well. Is that right?
Sorry?
Are you releasing one of your singles as well?
Yeah, how that's working. The music industry's changed a lot now from 20 years ago when I was back in it. So what that means is I've produced this myself, the album. But aside from the album, I work with 4 music producers at different times, and the French music producer called Gregory, and I've done about 6-7 tracks with Gregory. He's kind of trance music, and what happens is these music producers send me their music by email, and then I write the lyrics. I go to my local studio, I book in an hour or 2, lay down the vocals with harmonies, and then send them back, and it's done for me. It's quite an easy process. And then from that end, they then send, or Gregory, for example, he then finds record companies that want per single. So what, you know, back 20 years ago, you would be exclusively for the record company. Now they're just doing single by single. And I like that. I like that idea, because then I'm not just with one record company. So these singles that I have with all these different people, I've got all these plates spinning, and they're just doing their own thing. It's just so wonderful. And, you know, I'm very lucky. So I've signed my second record deal. The first record deal was a song called Love Is. So unfortunately, these tracks, because they're going to Europe, they're not in any frequencies, so they are in the 440 hertz. So it was a funny thing, really, because I thought, well, hold on, how am I going to do this? I've got this frequency thing going on. So what I did was, when I went into the studio, I sang, and I imagined the whole of the planet in my mind and visualized it being cleaned with this love energy vibration, this positive music. And that's what I do now when I can't work with the frequencies, because not all music producers or anybody else, that they're like, we don't know what you're on about, I'm really sorry. So it's kind of, I'm having to fall back into the old system, but that won't be forever, because I am changing it, and that's my goal.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like you said, I mean, one of the most powerful things, whether, you know, the frequency is a whole new level, isn't it? But if the language and the kind of, like you said, the lyrics are still there, even that, I mean, anything that you do, Elyse, I'm sure is going to make an impact.
Oh, bless you. Thank you.
You can feel it. So, you know, and it's like you said, you still unfortunately have to start with what's around you, and like you said, grow it. And if we can change bit by bit, then perfect. Why not? Yeah, it's awesome. So congrats! I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
It's absolutely. Is there anything else you kind of want to share while we're here? I mean, we've covered so much about kind of how it can impact life, and, you know, your album, how it come about. Is there anything else specifically you really want to share while you're here?
Well, I know that initially we've spoken before this conversation today, and I know that you were talking about that balance between business and lifestyle. And what I'm coming to realize is that kind of lifestyle comes first, and then business within there. But when you're starting out on your business, it's just business, and it's so important to kind of have that time where, you know, you have quality time with your partner or your friends or your family, depending, you know, what rocks your world, really. But and also time for you as well, and appreciating those things. So, you know, because of, you know, it's not looking so great, really, is it? You know, here's me promoting an album and I've got this bit of cold going on, but that just shows exactly that, you know, I've been kind of working and forcing it, and kind of too much masculine energy, and spending too much time on the computer, you know, because I've got to make this work. I mean, really, it's going to work anyway. I just have to let it just flow. Don't worry about it. It's just going to be fine. Just be so grateful and thankful. So my kind of, what I wanted to share, because I always like to give something for the listeners today, is that, you know, I think if you start off with your big why, if you can, and just ask a few questions and find out what it is that you really love to do. You know, who are you? What is it inside that really, you know, when you start talking about something and your face goes like that and you've got this big cheesy smile, and then you can't shut up. Because what was happening with me, people would say to me, oh, tell me about your max days. And I'd go, oh my God, don't start me off on that, because you won't stop me. So it was clearly, you know, my passion was there, and it was just kind of, you know, gentle baby steps to reignite that passion, because it felt like it was really in my tummy area. And that was the bit that had died. And also the heart chakra, you know, working on yourself and just loving yourself and being gentle with yourself is very, very important. And that, you know, I just hope that everyone has the opportunity to wake up to their big why and their big passion of who they truly are. And that's the best gift ever to themselves.
Well, I don't even need to add to that. It's just so powerful, so beautiful, and so moving. And it is true. It is like you said, you know, as a society and as a community and stuff like that, if we can start to think about that a lot more, you know, there's so many people out there that are just surviving in life. And it's like, life is there. It's a gift. It is a gift. You know, we only have one. We only get one shot at it. And it's just like, if you can even tap into a part of your passion and, you know, get into that sort of that flow, it really does just make things happen. You know, you do feel different, and life just becomes easier. It's like you said, it just does.
Yeah. It's not easy. It's not easy.
I don't mean easy as in you still got hard work.
I know, because what happens is the mind, because I'm just trying to think, for the 10 years I didn't sing, the mind was like, you know what it is, but really it's not happening. And it's where I think it's a point where you've had enough is enough, where you go, I can't do this a minute longer, you know.
There's normally some turning point, isn't there? I always say people being made redundant quite often is a great turning point in people's lives, because something always amazing comes out of it. They do something completely different they hadn't thought of, you know. And it's just a shame. I do find it a shame in society that, you know, it takes sometimes a tragedy or a big event for you to really kind of find yourself. Like, I wish I could share that energy to find it without a big event happening, you know. And it's just, that would be one of my passions, if I could tap into that when you want it, rather than when you need it. And I think that's the key things. But most of us in comfortable lives, and, you know, you don't move out your comfort zones, do you? It's
no, it's a risk, isn't it, moving forward. Thank you, Karen, for today.
You are awesome. And yes, please do get the album. There'll be a link below the video. So whether you're watching the replay or not, there'll be a link below the video to Elyse's website. I can't stress enough to go and buy the album, because obviously I have been listening to it for the last few days non-stop. And see, I'm buzzing, I'm alive, yay. So please do get behind it. It is something completely different, and, you know, follow what Elyse is doing, because I know there's big things coming. As simple as that. You know, I know you're going to make a movement here with women and everyone, really, not just women entrepreneurs. So I can't wait to see where you go next. It's just going to be phenomenal.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to have you here. And like I said, make sure you connect with Elyse, check out what's going on, and there'll be all the details below this video. So it's bye for now, and we will see you next week, guys. Bye.
Bye.